When it comes to ammo, rounds are not created equal. Some of them are just much more lethal than others, and today we take a look at the deadliest of them. These rounds stand out as they have stood the test of time. Not only time and again, they have excelled in doing what is expected of ammo, to kill what they hit. Speaking of deadly, you almost immediately have the picture of a hollow point in your mind. And yes, if you look at them, they are way deadlier than other kinds of ammo. Why? There are different reasons, like increased diameter, thanks to the expansion creating a bigger wound channel. More energy is dumped into the body as the increased diameter slows down the bullet, and then hydroshock and such come into play. Looking at the military, hollow points, while being more lethal than regular bullets, have not caught on with the regular military forces. There are reasons for that as well, starting with legal limitations and going to the practicality of penetration. However, in the civilian world of self-defense, it is all about stopping an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm immediately before it has a chance to manifest itself. In other words, it is about dropping the attacker before he drops you. All of this happens while you are being surprised and at a disadvantage. That makes hollow points so important as they can give you at least some advantage back. Hornady Critical Defense and some others even come with a polymer dot in the center of the hollow point cavity to make for a more aggressive expansion. This all follows a trend that has been around since the 10th century when firearms appeared for the first time. Tinkerers, engineers, and soldiers alike have all tried to make them more and more deadly. That also involves using heavier and heavier projectiles with stronger and stronger loads at greater and greater velocities, inflicting more and more damage. While more and better powder creates more noise, flash, and recoil, necessitating ever bigger and heavier guns, bullets can make a round deadlier without these unwanted side effects. They can also be applied to existing ammo that is shot out of existing guns. Here, small changes can have big impacts, literally. So let's take a look at which ammo has managed to stand out from the crowd and be just that much more deadly than all the others. During the Vietnam War, U.S. tanks and tank destroyers did not have to face much enemy armor. Instead, they had to deal with infantry, for which large-caliber guns were not always the ideal solution. To increase their effectiveness, the military issued 90 and 100 of 5mm anti-personnel rounds that were packed with tiny darts, turning these guns into giant shotguns. When fired, the Fchette rounds turned into a high-speed cloud of deadly darts, razing everything in their path to the ground. They were especially useful when employed against human wave attacks. While they mowed down wave after wave of attackers, they did cause more than the normal wear and tear on barrels. Another problem is that the average GI had no way of schlepping such a heavy gun around. There was an attempt to bring Fchette rounds to them in another way with the Special Purpose Individual Weapon Program. It saw the testing of the M19 experimental rifle and the XM645 Fchette round. This consisted of steel needles bedded in a fiberglass sabot. The Fchettes themselves were fin-stabilized and very accurate. When hitting a target, they tended to bend into a U-shape, increasing their wounding potential. In the end, the program was shelved. The reason wasn't the effectiveness of the round, but the inability to make it at an affordable cost. When you're talking about deadly rounds, you're often expecting some super hyper uber ammo. However, often enough, one of the deadliest rounds is one of the most unassuming. In our case, the simple +P ammo. This is ammo made for a regular caliber that exceeds normal chamber pressures for that caliber. With more pressure in the chamber when firing, the projectile gains more energy in the form of speed and can do more damage on the target by penetrating deeper, expanding more, and dumping more of that energy into it. To make sure that guns can handle the ammo you feed them, there are some specifications made for them. For example, a 9mm round should not generate more than 35,000 psi in the chamber. However, as a +P round, it can go up to 38,500 psi. That's an increase of 10%. That can be achieved by using more, faster burning, or stronger powder. When it burns, it builds up pressure inside the chamber that then pushes the bullet through the barrel until it reaches its maximum velocity at the muzzle and is sent off downrange. This comes with a downside. Not all firearms are made to withstand the higher power levels of +P ammo, and those that are often show signs of increased wear and tear if you use +P ammo too often. Developed during the 1960s, the Gyrojet round was a radical deviation from regular ammo. It was a very large round that was powered by a rocket. It was over half an inch wide and more than an inch and a quarter long. The primer would ignite 4 rocket boosters that were canted to give it a spin. The whole projectile would move down range at the target. The weight of the round was 25% higher than that of a 7.62 by 51 rifle round, and it achieved a top speed of 1,250 feet per second. The flight was somewhat different from a normal bullet, which achieves its maximum velocity at the muzzle and then gradually slows down. The Gyrojet round instead had a slow speed at the muzzle and took around 15 feet to reach its maximum velocity. While the Gyrojet pistol was reportedly tested by the U.S. Army, it was never widely adopted. Dum Dum projectiles were created for the British and colonial forces on India's northwest frontier. They came about in the 1890s, designed by the Dum Dum arsenal, located just outside Calcutta. The bullets consisted of lead with a copper jacket. At the nose, there was still some lead exposed, and into this, a deep X was cut. The idea was that on impact, the lead would break open and expand into a mushroom that was much wider than the original diameter of the bullet itself. With the expansion, sharp points and edges would be created that caused devastating wounds when passing through flesh. With this potential for damage in mind, an attempt soon followed to ban these bullets in the 1899 Hague Declaration concerning expanding bullets. The reason for banning them was exactly the severe wounds they would cause as compared to regular ammo. The declaration was made to cover bullets that had a hard envelope which does not cover the complete core, or that is pierced with incisions. So, instead of naming the bullets themselves, it tried to outlaw everything that might be constructed that way. Informal tests were done to see how severe the wounds actually were when inflicted by these rounds. The result was that there was a probability of them being more lethal than regular ammo of that time, but still less so than modern jacketed hollow points. The militaries of the world more or less followed the banning of these kinds of bullets, but there have been reports that they were used by the People's Liberation Army during the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. Jacketed hollow points, or JHPs if you're one of the cool kids. These are the evolved version of the old British Dum Dum rounds, which were so brutal they actually got banned in war under the Hague Convention. But for self-defense and law enforcement? Yeah, they're the gold standard. So, what makes a JHP tick? Picture a standard lead bullet with a copper jacket wrapped around it like body armor, but with a twist. Literally. There's a little hollow cavity at the nose of the bullet. That's where the magic happens. When this thing smacks into soft tissue, the force causes the bullet to open up, kind of like a nasty little flower or a hydra head. The tip peels back, the diameter increases, and it chews a much wider path through the target. Bigger hole, more damage, more stopping power. It's not just about hurting someone, it's about ending the threat fast. That expansion dumps energy inside the target instead of punching clean through like a full metal jacket would. Less overpenetration, more knockdown. That's why JHPs are what most cops, concealed carriers, and home defenders trust their lives to. Now here's the juicy part. Some of these rounds don't just expand, they fragment. You hit center mass with one of these high-performance JHPs, and chunks of lead can break off like shrapnel, tearing through multiple internal pathways. That's a nightmare for trauma surgeons. It multiplies the wound channels, increases blood loss, and makes the recovery, if there is one, 10 times harder. But it ain't all sunshine and chest cavities. These rounds have one big weakness: velocity threshold. If they don't hit the target fast enough, they don't expand. So if you're running a super short-barreled pistol or some budget ammo with weak powder loads, you're basically just throwing glorified FMJs. No expansion, no fragmentation, just a round hole and a disappointed you. There you have it, guys. Some of the deadliest ammo in the world. If you know some other examples of super deadly ammo, let us know in the comments and tell us what makes it so deadly.